Estamos transmitiendo ahí hay un montón de videos de las charlas pasadas por si los quieren ver. ¿Otras presentes? Bueno, bienvenidos a Amigas de Falta Medellín. Hoy vamos a tener una charla muy interesante de Octubre, que es nuestro patrocinador. Ya ellos van a entrar como tal a presentar la empresa. Hoy tenemos rifa.
Claro.
Eso me cargo yo.
Perfecto.
Hay sorpresa.
Genial. Entonces, y tenemos una charla muy interesante por Dimitro, me dijo que se podía decir así, y Iryna. Entonces, la charla es en inglés y creo que ya está. Les estaba diciendo que en YouTube de Python Colombia pueden encontrar todas las charlas pasadas y adicionalmente, pues me faltó como presentar que este también es un meetup de Machine Learning Colombia, ¿cierto? Sí, perfecto. Entonces, gracias.
Bueno, ¿qué más? ¿Cómo están? ¿Bien o qué? Bueno, mi nombre es David, hago parte del equipo de Software. Yo soy Senior Recruiter dentro de Software y aparte de eso también soy Scrum Master para reclutamiento y manejo una de las cuentas de Software de tal manera que garantizamos esta pierdas en corto tiempo con el mejor talento posible. ¿Qué es Software? Pues, como lo quieran definir, como lo quieran decir, ¿es un software factory, cliché, Sí, sí es un software factory, pero que nos diferencia de todas las empresas que tenemos. 1, somos people oriented, 2, family oriented, 3, work and life balance y 4, career development. Son nuestros 4 pilares. De eso nos regimos nosotros y de esa manera nosotros garantizamos y buscamos que ustedes desde el momento que están empezando el proceso con nosotros tengan cada una de las herramientas posibles para llegar al siguiente nivel. ¿Quién determina el siguiente nivel que ustedes quieren llegar? Ustedes mismos, no nosotros. ¿Cómo empieza el proceso? Desde una entrevista técnica. La entrevista técnica no es una entrevista técnica regular donde, bueno, cuénteme esto, de X, de lo otro. No. Es una entrevista técnica, una charla entre dos padres, dos personas. ¿Y esto para qué lo hacemos? Para encontrar, bueno, cuáles son sus fortalezas y cuáles son sus aspectos de mejora. Nosotros, ¿qué hacemos en Software cuando ustedes ya ingresan? Potencializamos aún más sus fortalezas y llevamos a otro nivel también los aspectos de mejora, de tal manera que ustedes puedan ir creciendo, ir cambiando de roles, ir de pronto viendo otras oportunidades y todo desde la educación continua. Entonces, por ejemplo, el día de hoy tenemos a Iryna y Dimitro. Ellos son Lead Big Data Engineers, hacen parte también de nuestro COE Center of Excellence, donde están los mejores desarrolladores, ingenieros a nivel global, y hacen parte de este colectivo, donde no solamente están trabajando para productos de software, sino también están trabajando en investigación y desarrollo a futuro. Esta es una charla muy top, la verdad no les voy a decir mentiras, es una charla que nosotros ya tuvimos para el equipo de reclutamiento, y fue una charla que nos hizo como boom, y nos animó a decir, bueno, hay muchas más oportunidades más allá de muchos momentos donde nosotros nos cerramos también como personas, como profesionales. Y la idea de hoy es que ustedes hagan parte de este momento. Y para esto les voy a pedir dos cosas. La primera es que en este QR van a ver todas las vacantes que tenemos abiertas. No se preocupen si estas vacantes de pronto no se alinean a lo que ustedes de pronto tienen actualmente en su perfil profesional. Al terminar la charla nos vamos a quedar con un ratico, vamos a conversar y se pueden acercar a nosotros. ¿Qué les vamos a dar a cambio por asistir también? Les vamos a dar pizzita y bolitas. Entonces ahí como para que no se me vayan vacíos, y adicionalmente a esto me van a dejar unos daticos. Las personas que me dejen datos van a participar en la rifa de unos audífonos de Sony Wireless. Entonces, para que los tengan presente, espero que disfruten la charla. Le voy a dar la palabra ya a Dimitro e Iryna. Entonces, pues un aplauso para ellos también.
Hi guys, my name is Dimitro. I'm lead data engineer at SoftServe. I'm working with data more than 17 years. I'm certified Azure Cloud and Google Cloud data engineer.
Hi guys, I'm Iryna, lead big data DBI engineer in SoftServe with more than 6 years of experience in data warehouse development, ETL, data analysis. My main focus is on building holistic analytical solutions. So today we are going to talk about why big data is on such hype, how big data is used on real projects, and how to become a big data engineer. So it's not a secret to anyone that data amount is constantly growing. Social networks, Internet of Things are leading to massive data generation. Each person generates around 1.5 megabyte of data every second. If you multiply it by number of people in the world using devices, you will see how huge is data amount that we need to deal with. So when we're talking about such huge data amount, we need to have special tools and technologies to process it quickly and effectively. Nowadays, organizations can collect massive amount of data, and they need to have right people and right technologies to get maximum value from their data. So that's why big data market is growing. That's why the demand for big data engineers is growing. As you can see on this chart, analytical companies expect almost 50% growth of big data market revenue in next 5 years. But what exactly is data engineering, how it is connected with big data, and how big data is used on a real project? Metro will explain you in a moment.
So, what is data engineering? Let's start from a simple approach. So, data engineering used to consolidate data from different data sources, clean it, process it, and prepare to be consumed in dashboards, some KPIs, machine learning, etc. On this picture, it's classic. It's our approach when we have our sources, our transformations, and the servicing layer for reporting. This approach was used for many years, and actually can be used for some of the projects today as well. But the amount of data is growing, and the amount of this and the demand is growing. So we have to use something completely different to be able to work with this data. And I have a question to you. Do you know how much Facebook stores data? How much data Facebook has? No? Anyone? Okay.
Maybe around 50 billion.
50 billion?
50
Million.
So
like
it's,
maybe 50 billion, like terabytes. Sorry. Yeah. 50
um,
terabytes of data, or maybe even more. I don't know. Maybe 1,000 terabytes.
yeah. So Facebook has 300 petabytes of data. Petabytes, yeah. So that's a lot, and they have to process 4 petabytes each day. So here comes big data engineering. Of course, the core of big data engineering is data engineering, and then we need to have some tools, frameworks to actually work with the data. So big data frameworks, and to be able to store, to use a lot of compute power to actually work with this data, we can use clouds. That's the most convenient way to do it. And which problems we actually have when big data comes? First of all, we have to work with structured and unstructured data. We have huge amount of data. We have to somehow to process it, and we should have the possibility to scale the solution, and we need to reduce the cost, of course. In the past, when we had, for example, Microsoft SQL Server, the only way to scale it is it's just to replace it with more powerful server, more CPU, more memory, and this is vertical scaling up. But this process requires a lot of investment, a lot of time, and of course money. And even if we don't use the server at 100%, we still have to pay for it. And there's no single way to scale it down. Another approach, we can do horizontal scaling. So we can distribute our storage, distribute our work to a bunch of different machines. And this is horizontal scaling out. And we actually pay for what we're using. We can spin up thousands of machines and then remove them if you don't need them. So distributed systems is the core of cloud compute technologies. And in this example, we have 1 terabyte of data which we need to process, and it takes 45 minutes to process it. And if we distribute it across 100 machines, the processing time will reduce to 45 seconds. The actual distribution comes with the cost because we have to distribute the work, we have to collect the results. So it's improvement about 60 times faster. Anyway, yeah, we can scale this solution to 1,000 machines, a couple thousand machines, etc. In SoftServe, we implemented a lot of big data solutions, which use thousands of machines. And one example, that's a project I'm currently working on, international mining company. I started working on this 3 years ago, more than 3 years ago, actually. Back then it was 15 developers, now we almost 200 developers. And we have a bunch of different solutions, and they so they help it to reduce the maintenance cost for the client up to 27%, and saved almost $1 million per year. The solution built on an Azure cloud, and we have 2 types of data that we have to process. Yeah, we have on-premise services, which we are using Data Factory to import this data to the cloud, to put it in storage, and we have a lot of IoT devices, sensors. This data comes as streaming, and we use an Azure Hub to actually collect this data and put it into storage. And then we're using Databricks to process this data, clean and prepare for the reporting. So this like brief architecture of the core data solution, and then we have a bunch of different data marts, different applications that uses data. And how actually we can use this data? Yeah, for example, we have sensors on track from suspension, and we can understand the quality of the road when the truck goes. And if we can see that the quality of the road isn't good enough, we can trigger an alert because very soon this data is real time. We can trigger alerts to the site supervisor. So hey, we observe that we have bumps in this part, and we should fix it. Yeah, we have tire temperature sensors, and also we have, for example, sensors on operators. Actually, they collect the quality of air they are breathing, and we can reduce the exposure to the dust inside for the people. Yeah, and we have the data for about 20 years, historical data. Using this amount, this data, we can actually run some data science and do some predictions, advices to use the equipment in the most efficient way.
So, as you can see, many different technologies are being used on big data projects. But how can we know which technologies we need to learn? Which technologies are the most popular? So we conducted some kind of analysis where we analyzed job descriptions of big data vacancies for current and previous year. And in this chart, you can see the trend of most commonly used big data technologies for current and previous year comparison. As you can see, it's very clear trend that such big data frameworks as Hadoop, Hive, on-premise big data frameworks are decreasing. And the demand for cloud technologies is going up. So you can see AWS, Azure, GCP Cloud, the demand for experts with such technologies is increasing. Also, you can see the increase of Python and SQL languages demand. And also, you see it here. Okay, now you see Airflow. So I would like to highlight that demand for experts with Airflow is also growing. And Airflow is becoming a standard for job orchestration. So, based on this analysis, we prepared a list of steps and a list of advices for you how to become a big data engineer. So, first step is to focus on programming. There are three programming languages which are used in big data. It's Python, Java, Scala. But as you remember from previous slide, the demand for engineers with Python knowledge is growing. However, Java and Scala becoming not such popular. So I would like to focus right now on learning Python, how you can master your Python skills. You can use Python documentation if you are new to programming or you already have programming experience. This documentation is free to use. You will find good learning guide here, practical tasks, so you can practice your Python skills. In next slide, I prepared a few recommendations of video courses on Udemy. First one is Automate Boring Stuff with Python Programming. It's for beginners, and you will learn here how to use Python to automate your daily routine, how to use Python on a daily basis. And the second course is more focused on data structures, on algorithms. So here you will learn how to use Python with the data. Now I have a question. Who already has experience with the Python? Like Python knowledge? Oh, many of you. So, okay, you can skip this part. You're lucky, because for you it will be much easier to switch to big data. But you can skip previous slides, but not this one. Because except of learning, it's always a good idea to practice your skills. So I encourage you to contribute to open source projects on GitHub on the right side, and contribute to our Open Tech, which is a social initiative of Softserve. So this is a platform where we collect needs of non-profitable organizations for technical solutions. So you can access this page, find an interesting for your project, and help some non-profitable organizations. Next. As you're becoming data engineer, not a software engineer, you will need to deep dive into SQL and database world. And if you're completely new to this database world, I recommend to take these two courses on Data Camp. First one is about database design. So it's a basic of databases, the architecture, the key components, concept of databases, relational databases. A second step for you, it will be NoSQL databases. So you will also find the course of NoSQL concepts on Data Camp. And here you will understand more of the architecture of NoSQL databases, how to use NoSQL databases, how they store data, and what are the different types of NoSQL databases. On the right side, you can see more complete guide into database world. So here you will get a deeper understanding of databases, relational NoSQL databases. Here you will get knowledge how to build, how to create your database, work with SQL, and a lot of practical exercises as well. As you can see, one of the resources is Udemy, and second one is Data Camp. Are you familiar with these learning resources? Are you using them? Okay, good. If you're not familiar, I will just briefly explain you the concept. So on Udemy, you can buy a specific course. You're paying for a course and you will have access to this specific course. Usually they have like up to 90% discounts, so their courses are pretty affordable. And Data Camp, you will need to buy a subscription, monthly or yearly subscription. For months, it costs around $12. And you will have access to all their resources. And in Data Camp, they have a lot of nice courses for data engineering, even data scientists, and so on. And learning is nothing without practicing. So few recommendations for you where you can practice your SQL skills. SQL Zoo and SQL Vault provides different level of SQL exercises from beginners to advanced, and you can find appropriate level for yourself and practice more in SQL. These platforms are also free to use. Okay, after you got more familiar with databases, with SQL world, and you already know Python, lucky you, it's time to master your data processing skills. When we are talking about data processing, there are two approaches to process data: batch processing and streaming processing. You will need to know two of them. Streaming processing is used for real-time systems when the system is generating constantly data, continuously data generation. So in this case, we need to process this data in real time, and such technology as Apache Kafka is commonly used for this exercise. So top left corner, highly recommended course on Udemy, where you will get good understanding of Apache Kafka, how to build streaming pipelines, how to deploy them. On the other hand, we need to learn about batch processing. So it's a little bit different approach when we are not processing data in real time, but we collect transactions into batches and then we process them with some frequency. One of the tools for batch processing is Apache Beam, and on the top right corner you can see very good course where you will learn more about batch processing. You will practice your processing skills, so you will create your own pipeline, deploy it, and so on. Also, Dmitry mentioned earlier about distributed systems, how important they are for cloud computing. So understanding of distributed system is crucial for big data engineer, and you can find even free course in YouTube, distributed system lecture series, which will give you like a good overview of distributed systems. And one of the frameworks, the most popular frameworks nowadays for big data is PySpark. It's a Python framework for Spark. So here you will learn how to use PySpark with big data. And again, learning is nothing without practicing. So some companies, they provide free access to their streaming data API. So you can build your own data streaming pipeline based on their open API. For example, Twitter, Meetup, you can easily access their open streaming API, practice, build your own project based on their data, and it's completely free to use. Okay, now after you build your pipeline, it's time to schedule your workflow. As you remember from our analysis of most commonly used data technologies, Airflow is becoming more and more popular. So now we can say that Airflow is some kind of standard for data pipelines orchestration. And this skill is also crucial for you. So here is one of the recommendations, Udemy course, a complete introduction to Airflow, very useful course. So after your learning phase, after practicing your data processing skills, building pipelines, scheduling it, now it's time to get certified. So you can get certified by any of these cloud providers, AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. As you can see, AWS has a majority of market, but it's logical actually because they were first on the market, the first cloud providers. So they gained the majority of clients, and now it's pretty expensive and complicated for migration. That's why AWS has the majority of market. You can choose which cloud suits you better. Yeah, if you're familiar with Microsoft stack, on-premise stack, it will be easier for you to switch to Azure cloud. All these three cloud providers, they provide data engineering certification. So it's not too easy to pass them. You should be familiar with their services, like practice a lot, and be able to build a solution in this cloud. But yeah, it depends how much time you allocate to this, but usually If you have already experience with this cloud, you're working with it, it takes like a few months for you to get prepared. So in AWS, you can be certified as big data specialist. In Azure, they call this exam DP 203. It's data engineering exam. And in Google Cloud, it's just a data engineering. If it's easier for you to consume content through reading, not video content, yeah, I recommend these 3 books. So with the first one, you will learn how to build reliable, scalable solutions. Second one, it's a very good and deep guide into dimensional modeling, how to build data warehouses, what are the architectures of data warehouses, and so on. Third one is focused on NoSQL databases, NoSQL concepts. Again, what are the different NoSQL databases, what are the approaches to NoSQL architecture. So I assume now you are already enough motivated to start learning. But you know, it's common thing that you're motivated to start learning and then you give up. So don't forget that actually discipline is crucial for your success. So if you want to success in something, you should book time in your calendar and practice learning on a daily basis. In software, we are in trend with the market demand for big data engineers. And that's why we built retraining programs for people with a knowledge in any of the key component of data engineering. So we have retraining programs for BI engineers, which are Python, Scala big retraining programs. For software engineers, we are offering AWS, Google Cloud, Azure programs. Depends on your preference, which cloud you want to learn. And for data warehouse engineers, we have BI retraining programs. So they are focused on skills that you will need to learn to gain to become big data engineer. What are the requirements to join our training programs? So you should be good in Python and SQL. I heard that for all of you it's not a problem, or almost all of you. And know the basics of data engineering. Also, it's good if you have already any experience with clouds and good English level. So you can learn everything by yourself following our recommendations, but also you can join our training program. And here's the workflow, the flow of this training program. So everything starts with a client interview, where client should confirm that he will work with you on a project after you finish successfully retraining. After each, you should pass evaluation test, so we can see your current knowledge level, and then your learning journey begins. We give you access to all our resources, all courses needed to become big data engineers, and books. Also, we provide once per week session with our big data expert, where you can ask some questions, maybe ask for advice, and so on. After each week, you will have tests and labs, so we can track your progress on a program. After 8 weeks of learning, you will need to pass final test. And after successfully passing this test, we provide you with the certificate for passing any of cloud certifications based on your preference. Yeah. So if you scroll one more. So we calculated how much approximately this program can cost for you. So considering that you need access to all these courses, you need to buy some books. I'm not talking even about how much time you need to allocate this and about these hours spent with our expert. And also, this cloud certification is not free. It costs around $200. So to summarize it, it will cost you around $2,000 this learning pass. But we are offering it for free. If you would like to join us and want to apply, here's a QR code where you can get more information if you're interested. You can see the program, the agenda of this course, how to apply, and so on. But if you have any other questions, we'll have some time later so we can discuss any questions you have. And it's important to keep going to be on track with our latest big data trends, latest big data technologies. There are a few podcasts, blogs that you can follow, you can read, and keep going. So now it's time for you to see how we can use big data, how we can use BigQuery actually in a real example. So Dima will prepare in a moment a small demo for us to show you how quickly we can process huge amount of data using BigQuery. So BigQuery is it's a database of Google Cloud. So Dima will show us in a moment how quickly nowadays it is to process huge data amount.
Yeah, so I'm using BigQuery, example of a public data set for Wikipedia page views. You can create your account in BigQuery for free and connect this Wikipedia page view public data set to your account. Google provides you with $200 for free, and you can actually start doing some POC or whatever, and some investigation. So in this example, it's a simple query. From this Wikipedia page views for the current year, I'm getting the views count per day, and for the first half of the year, where title like Bitcoin, so everything related to Bitcoin. Let's see. I forgot to mention on the right corner, there was a estimation how much data we will read. It was about 1 terabyte of data. So we have our results. 12 seconds, 1 terabyte of data. And we have a nice table. Then we can actually explore it with Data Studio, for example, which is a nice tool, and of course it's free. It gives you some dashboards. Not what we need. So we can put some charts like this. And so we can see nice charts. Oh, and in the sockets, sorry. Where is sorted? Okay, anyway, yeah. But it's actually it's fine, yeah. So we can see that popularity of Bitcoin is going down. It's time to sell Bitcoins. So that's a simple example how we can easily get the data, visualize it. It's just a few minutes, and we actually can see the resources. We can use the Q visualizer tool. That's let me check. This should be one. Yeah, so this tool shows what is going on with the query. In our case, it's this simple query. We're reading from one table, so the query plan is quite simple. We can check timings and actually.
I think it's a different query. Something different.
No, it's something different.
Yeah.
One moment.
Yeah, you have to change query.
I just want. Okay. Yeah, anyway, and something happens again. In this tool, we can actually, it shows how many workers BigQuery uses, and usually it will spin up to a couple of thousand. For the query like this, I saw it's up to 2,000 of workers. So just give you this number of workers for 12 seconds, you have the results. That's the beauty of cloud technologies.
How much can it cost that query? 1 terabyte of data?
For BigQuery, I don't remember the exact numbers, but you're paying for the amount of data that you're reading.
There is another side of the query.
I think it's not more than a few dollars.
It's better to check the documentation, but it's not too much. Maybe for this amount data, to terabyte of data, it's gonna be. Yeah, something like that. Okay, it's time for your questions.
So we'll already started with one question, and we'll have more time for networking, for talking, but if you have any specific questions right now related to like our big data projects that we have, technologies, our retraining programs, feel free. Yeah.
Well, actually, I have a question. I you're saying training, but in general, which is the best platform about cloud? Because we have AWS, we have Azure, we have Vilchynska. Yes, of course. So there are three platforms, the main platforms which are for cloud, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. What do you think that is the best to work with? I understand that the AWS is like the most powerful. I saw in your presentation that you use Google Cloud. And the internet, what do you think that will be there?
Do you want to say something? Yeah, sure.
So the question is, which cloud platform will be the best? And there's no clear answer because it always depends. Depends on the client needs, and the price they're willing to pay. The like maybe client has some contracts with Azure, and if you choose Azure, and you won't be able to convince him to change his mind. Yeah. It's a contract obligation, some discounts or whatever. Like most, I would say most technologies are you can find in all clouds. For example, Databricks now available in Google, in AWS, Azure. Kubernetes services, again, everywhere. For example, BigQuery, it's you can find on GCP because it's a Google proprietary engine, and they do it for Google. But AWS, there's Snowflake, something really similar. In Azure, it would be, for example, Synapse Analytics. They're like, BigQuery, you don't have to provision any resources. In Synapse Analytics, you will have to provision your clusters. But in general, you will find similarity in services, and it's more like a question to the client what they want.
So, that question, do you think that it's important to manage all experience, or you have to specialize in one? Well, I mean, if the client requires Azure, but you only know Google, do you think that is better if you know all the three of them, maybe the three platforms, or to be only expert in one?
Yeah. So the question is if it's better to learn all three clouds or just focus on one. So I would say, especially for the beginners, it's better to focus on one cloud until you become really good in this cloud. Because it's not a common thing that one client is using many clouds. So usually you will be working with one cloud, and once you become a good expert in this cloud, then maybe you can switch like your learning focus to other clouds. But for the start, definitely, I would recommend to focus on something one. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
For you, is the 2 years Python experience mandatory to the retrain?
Yeah. So our program is developed for like people with Python knowledge. If you don't know Python, you can like take other training program which is for Python, like focused on Python learning or Scala learning. But if you know Python, it will be much easier for you. And without Python or like another programming language, you won't be able to become a data engineer. So it's just a basis and background to become a data engineer. So you should start from this.
Other question.
Yeah.
How is the demand of data engineer in the market right now?
So I can't say any specific numbers, but like around the world. But in Solcer we have around 90 big data vacancies open right now. So it's just in our company. So the demand is huge, it's pretty huge. But again, for big data engineers with cloud knowledge, so preferable. But yeah, the demand is growing. Really. Yeah.
Even if Python is a trend, would you recommend to move to Scala at some time? Because I understand that Python has some layer. So Scala, I think, is more pure. I don't know Scala, but I hear that Scala is like more pure than Python to process data and work with other frameworks. So then Python first, but at some time it's better to move to Scala.
Yeah, so the question is which language to choose at first. I would suggest, and this presentation, to start from Python because it's much easier to start with. And it's much like you can see the progress right away. In Scala, its learning curve will be much harder. And in terms of which is better, again, Python, it's easier and it's like spreads like a lot of projects, yeah, using Python. In Scala, yeah, it depends on the project. I mean, yeah, if the project is in Scala, you have to learn Scala.
So what Dima is saying is that it's easier to start with Python, and you will find more projects, more opportunities for yourself if you know Python. And in terms how useful it is, so you remember about Airflow, like job orchestration tool, and for this tool you will need to know Python, for example. So everything in Airflow is based on Python, and Airflow is becoming like a standard for job orchestration, so we can see this correlation with the Python. With Scala, yes, there are projects, but not so many. So if you're proficient in Python, yeah, you can start with new language, which could be Scala. Yeah. Other questions?
Okay, so this is not a question, but I want to say that you mentioned one of the projects, which is called automating boring stuff in Python.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to say is that the writer has all the books available for free on his website. So you don't actually have to pay for the course if you don't want to. So you can just go to the website and then you can just check all the books for free. So you don't really have to pay for the Udemy course if you don't want to.
Oh yeah. Okay, so what I wanted to say is that one of the courses that were in the presentation was called Automate the Boring Stuff in Python, and that's a Udemy course, and that's okay if you wanna. I mean, you can buy the course if you wanna support the writer, but he has all these books available on his website. And you can just look up on Google, automate the boring stuff in Python, and I think the first result you can find the name of the author. So then you can just go to his website and you'll have all his books for free, so you don't really have to pay for them if you don't want to. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thanks for this advice. Maybe someone else has any other advices how you're learning Python, data engineering. Any other resources someone wants to recommend? No?
I know platform. I think that all of you know it. It's Platzi. I think Platzi is better than Udemy. They have all the path that you have to follow to get in data science. Actually, it's cheaper. For me, it's better.
Cool, thanks. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So we have some questions on the streaming. The first one is,
do you have, can they look at the presentation over there? And it is shareable? Can we share it? So, yeah. So we will share it, the presentation. And the other one is a tricky one, maybe. I will summarize it. So let's say we have a Postgres database. We have a Snowflake schema. We host it in AWS RDAs. It doesn't matter. The question is basically, what is the difference between I have a database and then a data lake, data warehousing? Postgres database can be considered like a data warehousing.
So, if I understood correctly the question, if we can use Postgres database as a data warehouse, yeah. Yeah, sure, why not? So data warehouse means like strict schema, and any like SQL engine works fine. But again, if you will have a lot of data, and then you will have troubles. But if you stick to the Postgres, you can choose, for example, AWS Redshift, which is built on top of Postgres, but it's in cloud, it's a distributed service, and you can use so it's a cluster with nodes.
And the question was about data lakes?
No. So I think that's it. Anyone has any other question? Okay, I will. And then I will come back.
Well, this is actually just a response to the last question. I think his question was, what's the main purposes between a data lake and a data warehouse? Where a data lake is unstructured and just your raw data, and a data warehouse has some business logic applied on top of the data. And so you can use Postgres for either one of those purposes. It just depends on what you're using it for.
So anyone else? Can I recommend something? So I would recommend, if you want to be a data engineer, at least from my experience, it would be like maybe take a certification. For example, I took 2 years ago the GCP certification for the data engineer, and I learned a lot just taking the certification. And then you have a bunch of skills that you didn't have, and all of that just taking those courses that you can get maybe by torrent, maybe by anything, you can get all of that from internet.
Okay.
I think that's all.
Yeah, if no other questions, we can, I will pass the report.
Bueno, pues primero de todo, muchas gracias a los asistentes. En este momento, pues antes de terminar la charla, quería pues, agradecer a la comunidad de Python, pues, en este caso Python Medellín, pues por dar la oportunidad de estar con ustedes, estar con la charla.
Y Machine Learning.
Y Machine Learning también, perfecto, muchas gracias. Agradecer también a Iryna y a Iryna por el tiempo y espacio. Adicionalmente a esto, antes de pasar, digamos, a la parte de networking, de la cerveza, la comida, quería también de pronto hacerles como algunos comentarios o quisiera también escucharlos un poquito de su experiencia de cómo se encuentran trabajando en este momento, cómo se han sentido, cuáles son de pronto los blockers que ustedes cuentan o qué es lo que están buscando a futuro para encontrar un nuevo trabajo. Entonces no sé si de pronto alguien quiera como comentarme algo de su background, de su experiencia, como para también comentarles también de SoftServe. ¿No le sí?
Hola, buenas noches. Bueno, yo soy desarrollador frontend, trabajo actualmente en una empresa que prestamos servicio a las alcaldías. Mi stack es como React y Angular principalmente. Pues lo que yo busco es más aprendizaje sobre salario, ¿cierto? En esta empresa, digamos, que no, pues por no hablar más de la empresa, no estoy aprendiendo lo que quiero porque trabajamos, digamos, que con tecnologías vanilla, no trabajamos con Facebook ni oportunidades, ahí les enseño. Pero ahí viene la cuestión sobre software y porque he aplicado mucho también a software y no sé qué tan difícil sea, por ejemplo, para la gente que está intentando buscar un software. Mi novia trabaja en software. Pues sí, nuestra idea era, digamos, que estar juntos en software, a los primeros 100 personas en software. Pues sí, mi sueño es hacer software, pero nunca he tenido, digamos, que la suerte, o no sé si no tengo el nivel para estar en software. Entonces te quería preguntar a ti, ¿qué consideran para estar en un software?
Perfecto, pues vamos, creo que es una respuesta que hay que dar por partes, ¿no? Porque mencionaste varios ítems. Si lo hablamos, digamos que conciso, mencionaste algunos ítems relevantes. El primero fue aprendizaje. Estás buscando, lo primero que quieres ver es aprendizaje, ¿cierto? Lo segundo es aprendizaje sobre dinero. Lo tercero es, he estado aplicando, pero no he podido entrar. ¿Por qué? Bueno, partamos de varias cosas. SoftServe es una compañía que tiene más de 13.000 colaboradores a nivel global. Es una de las empresas más grandes a nivel Europa en temas de desarrollo. Es una empresa que ha brindado muchas oportunidades y ha transformado la vida de muchas personas y poco a poco empezó a abrir. ¿Qué pasa? Nosotros abrimos operaciones en la TAM en 2022. Abrimos primero México, abrimos Colombia más o menos entre marzo y abril de este año y hace un par de meses abrimos la oficina en Chile. Hoy, SoftServe Colombia cuenta con más de 150 colaboradores y lo que nos rige en este momento son el tipo de proyectos que nosotros tenemos. ¿Cuáles son los proyectos que de pronto nosotros también encontramos dentro de SoftServe? Como para que también tengan un poquitico más de conocimiento de qué tipo de industrias. Trabajamos con las industrias que ustedes se pueden imaginar, healthcare, retail, financial services, entre otros. Trabajamos con proyectos, por ejemplo, que les podemos mencionar en nombre de los clientes, está Atlassian, está IBM, está Google, incluso está Panasonic, está Cisco, y trabajamos con proyectos de ellos. ¿Qué nos diferencia de, digamos, de otras empresas? Que nosotros siempre vamos a estar pendientes de ustedes de inicio a fin y nuestra pilar principal es darles feedback de por qué de pronto no están entrando. Nuestros filtros son exigentes, no te puedo decir mentiras. O sea, para entrar a SoftServe sí se requiere un nivel. Y ese nivel puede que de pronto en el momento en que tú presentaste, ¿ya tuviste entrevista técnica? Listo. Entonces, cuando tienes la entrevista técnica, de pronto el nivel de tu perfil y tu background no se ajustaba a la vacante. Eso no quiere decir que las puertas de SoftServe estén cerradas para ti en este momento. Nosotros lo que estamos haciendo con tu perfil es esperando a que se nos abra una oportunidad donde tu background técnico, tus fortalezas y áreas de mejora estén alineadas. Entonces, claro que sí, nuestra meta y nuestra intención es poder contar contigo. Nuestro trabajo desde el área de reclutamiento es encontrar esa oportunidad perfecta para ti. Entonces, ¿cómo hacemos esto? Nosotros tenemos una base de datos, un sistema donde nosotros tenemos toda tu información, tu correo electrónico, tus resultados técnicos, tu CV, y de esta manera, apenas se abre la oportunidad, empezamos a gestionar. Entonces, por ejemplo, en este QR que están escaneando acá, les invito también a que lo escaneen, es para que nos dejen sus datos. ¿Para qué son estos datos básicamente? Para conocernos también. ¿Saben ustedes quiénes son? ¿Qué están buscando? ¿Cuál es su perfil? Enviarles contenido relevante, porque SoftServe se basa en la educación, en dictar ese tipo de charlas, en compartir conocimiento, en que ustedes puedan llegar mucho más lejos. Entonces, ¿qué hacemos con estas charlas, este conocimiento? Abrimos programas para que ustedes empiecen también como aprendices. ¿Qué necesita un aprendiz? Creo que ahí tenemos ese case study, lo tenemos por ahí atrás. Ana, Ana es una de nuestros aprendices de DevOps. Anita entró en una de nuestras charlas, en un crash course de DevOps, y la toteó. Literalmente, ella la toteó, fue de 70 participantes, fue una de las 6 personas que pueden empezar el proyecto con total como aprendiz, y también depende mucho de la actitud que uno le ponga. No es solamente que la empresa abra las puertas para ustedes, sino que ustedes también demuestren compromiso, que quieren estar ahí, y eso de que, digamos, de que se compone actitud, los entregables, su participación, su proactividad, que ustedes demuestren que quieren estar ahí. Entonces, creo que Ana, tengo entendido que la rompe en todo sentido, empezó desde ceros y miren ya dónde está, y la idea pues ya es que se quede con nosotros. Formar, por ejemplo, DevOps es algo que en este momento no es fácil en Colombia, porque casi tenemos una demanda muy grande de vacantes de DevOps y al mismo tiempo tenemos poca oferta de DevOps. O, por ejemplo, nos piden DevOps con Azure. ¿Cuántos DevOps que manejan Azure en Colombia pueden haber? Se reduce esa batch que está ahí. Entonces creamos estos programas para formarlos, entrenarlos y que ustedes puedan empezar a trabajar con nosotros desde ese inicio. Para las personas que ya tienen de pronto un poco más de recorrido, de background, que de pronto ya están en un intermediate level o en un senior level, ya tenemos vacantes definidas. En este momento tenemos alrededor de 30 vacantes. Muchas de ellas están, por ejemplo, tenemos una gran cantidad de vacantes en .NET y React. Muchos dicen como, yo tengo .NET y estoy aprendiendo React, lo cual me encanta y me fascina que estén aprendiendo también React. Sin embargo, para efectos, digamos, de este proyecto en específico, se requiere que ya tengan cierta experiencia laboral con React. Entonces, cuando a veces decimos como, mira, nos encanta tu perfil, pero no te ajustas, no estamos diciéndote eres menos, sino sabemos que tienes el poder, sabemos que sabes, pero necesitamos que practiques más ese conocimiento para poder llegar. Entonces, ¿cómo te podemos llegar a ese nivel? Pues participar en nuestras charlas, asistir a nuestros eventos. No solamente SQR es para eso, por ejemplo, SQR, yo les siempre digo cuando voy a eventos es, venga, me gusta invitarlos a una pola en la oficina, que nos conozcan, que nos echemos unos tipazos, que nos echemos un Mario Kart, que nos riamos un rato, y que empecemos a construir de pronto futura cooperación, que no se quede nomás de pronto en, necesito conseguir trabajo ya, quiero cambiar de aires ya, porque también seamos honestos, en esta industria, en muchos momentos, las personas ven una oferta y ya, creen que ya es nomás un cambio salarial, y hay mucho más detrás, mucho más de la educación, mucho más de ustedes cómo pueden llegar, el tipo de proyectos a que se pueden enfrentar. Entonces, mi invitación siempre es a, no solamente se queden desde el reclutamiento, se lo digo sinceramente, no se enfoquen solamente en el salario y en su aspiración salarial, sino también del tipo de proyecto, de lo que la compañía les puede ofrecer a ustedes y si está alineada con su proyecto de vida. Porque el dinero es dinero, pero el dinero se va. Un día estamos arriba, otro día estamos abajo. Entonces, tengan presente que es mejor a veces estabilidad versus un mayor ingreso por un corto periodo de tiempo. Ténganlo siempre presente.
Bueno, los invitamos a que lleven el código QR porque además de como les contó David, la idea es que hoy vamos a tener una rifa para que todos los que estén acá puedan participar y pues aprovechar este espacio para darles las gracias a ustedes por estar acá, por escuchar y querer llenarse de todo este conocimiento, a la comunidad de Python también por ofrecernos estos espacios y de Machine Learning y
ya los voy a dejar descansar. Mañana tenemos meetup de Python Pereira. Entonces, si ustedes buscan en Google meetup Python Pereira, la segunda.
Juan Valencia mañana.
Sí. Entonces, vamos a tener ese meetup para que lo vean, es online y también van a haber rifas.
Y Juan Valencia es un teso.
Importante.
Y Juan Valencia es un teso.
Sí. Entonces, perfecto. Ya eso es todo. ¿Algo más?
No, pues que ya sé que los que se quieran quedar a disfrutar de una pizza y una polita y conversar un rato, de pronto que les contemos en detalle nuestros beneficios, de pronto de lo que es el Apprentice Program, lo que es academia, se queden con nosotros. Mientras tanto, pues buen provecho y muchas gracias por su tiempo.
I have two questions. Very quick questions. Do you want a piece of pizza?